Welcome to Talking Early Years, a showcase training podcast with Ellen Roberts
and Gemma Carr. Hello and welcome to today's Talking Early Years podcast. On this episode, we're going to be discussing different child development theorists. Ellen, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Gemma. How are you?
Yes, very good, thank you. This is going to be another interesting one for you, I think, isn't it?
Very much so, very much so. And we should mention that this is your last podcast.
Podcast. It feels very weird for me.
You're going to be leaving your baby with us.
I know. I'm going to set her free to you.
Oh, we will endeavour to keep this going in your name, in your honour.
Bless you.
It's been an absolute joy to set up over the last nearly a year and a half we've been doing the podcast now.
Yeah,
absolutely,
which feels
amazing.
balmy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. From when we first sort of got together and discussed the idea and then thought, yeah, I think we can do this, and how it's grown and grown. It's been absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
What a game changer, really.
So next episode we'll have a new host with you.
It will.
TBC.
TBC, the big reveal.
Yeah.
But yeah, just and I'm sure all our listeners will also pass their massive thanks to you for the masses of knowledge that you've imparted as well over the last
my wafflings, as we were just calling them.
Well, no, not at all. And this one especially, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's an area of early years that I am very unfamiliar with, but it's quite higher level learning, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So all these theorists kind of we talk about in the level 3, but they do come into sort of that bit more detail into the level 5 as well. So it also might be quite useful for some people to hear how some of them are pronounced as well.
Yes.
Because some of them are not pronounced as they are spelt. So yes, that will also be quite interesting for some.
Don't ask me to say them.
Yeah.
I'll offend somebody.
We'll do a practice.
Fabulous. So let's get going. So how much of a child's development is shaped by biology versus environment, and how would theorists like Jean Piaget, I'm going to go for it. Jean Piaget.
Yeah, he's male as well.
And Lev Vygotsky disagree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nailed that one.
So nailed the Vygotsky, yeah. Piaget is always one that stumbles either with the first name or the second name. So yeah, Jean Piaget.
Jean Piaget.
So this is very similar to, I suppose, the question of the nature-nurture question, almost a little bit. So that biology versus environment.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of kind of what Piaget states is sort of children actively construct knowledge by exploring and interacting with their environment. So being engaged with their environment and kind of using that sort of assimilation and accommodation to adapt and organise this new information that they're gaining from the environment.
Okay.
We've spoken a lot about environments before and sort of the environment generally, haven't we? And I think it's seen to a lot of theorists as sort of the third educator kind of thing as well. So thinking about those different education elements and that Piaget had a strong bond with that environment. Lev Vygotsky kind of thought about that sort of those social interactions and culture play a large part in the child's development, which also play a part into the environment too.
Yeah, absolutely. It shapes an environment.
Exactly. So, different cultures play into that environment, and those elements kind of are always the environment's always going to be that teacher. But arguably biology is also always going to play a part in how that child learns, how that child develops because of that biological, that innateness within them. But equally, it's a tricky one because there isn't a right or wrong to it. There isn't a. It is completely a. Biology has a huge impact on the child's development, whether we're talking about SEND or whether we're talking about general cultural upbringing. But equally, that plays a part into your environment. So all of these things come in, and again, I don't think that there is an element of Piaget or Vygotsky was right or wrong, or one is better than the other. It is pulling out the different elements of each of their theories to determine whether you feel how to impart that information into your setting or into your practice.
Definitely. And I think that's a really important point to make as well with theories. They are theories, they aren't facts. It is somebody's opinion on something, and you don't have to fit an entire theory into your opinion or your practice. There will be certain elements of theories that just don't fit, so you don't have to try and square pegs and round holes and all of that. You don't have to try and force them in and shoehorn it in. You can choose to ignore or evaluate or accept certain parts of theories that are useful to you and helpful and informative, or put them to the wayside as well, or challenge them, because you might have different thoughts for yourself that you might think, actually, in our nursery, the environment is really important and it's our focus, or biology is something that we really focus on, and that's something that we take very seriously. There's no right or wrong, as you say.
I don't think any setting would poo-poo either of them.
No.
It's just an element of how is the environment being shaped by these theories or things like that, isn't it? Absolutely.
Which parts of this theory would we like to utilize?
Definitely.
So on to another theorist, Erik Erikson. Very easy name to say, that one. So hopefully, anyway.
Nailed that.
And it's Erik Erikson. So if Erik Erikson were observing children growing up in the age of social media, how might he rethink stages like identity versus role confusion?
So Erik Erikson kind of had these stages that the child went through and kind of developed sort of these 8 psychosocial stages across the lifespan.
Okay.
So again, it's kind of we were talking predominantly here child development theorists, but his theory did span across the whole person's life.
Interesting. Okay.
So they kind of face those developmental crises, versus trust versus mistrust, or kind of initiatives versus guilt, and they shape their personality. And thinking about his theory also kind of made clear that resolving each stage kind of builds them as that person and builds them to build those healthy relationships going forward and those healthy emotional states, and that social development. If you put that against social media, and quite simply talking, we're talking trust versus mistrust.
Very much so.
Disinformation, misinformation that we're given through social media. AI, what's true, what's real, what's a real image. How would it affect us as adults? How would it affect children seeing this? How would it affect his theory? I think there would be a lot of caveats in his theory. However, but if those kind of things would come into play a lot more within his theories, there would kind of be branch off elements almost, I think, within his theory to kind of say, however, if this child was on social media from this age and this could develop this, and you kind of got a side span, kind of like a side quest almost, as it were, off of this theory.
And it goes then, from my perspective, into a lot of sociology as well, of how obviously social media has only been around for 15 years, 20 years maybe.
Probably, something like that.
So it's not that long, and the study into the effects of it is still so new. We don't know the masses of impact on it. But in terms of their ability really to develop after trust and mistrust, and how the development of individual, particularly adults, I think, because they haven't had to develop that as a child, they've missed some building blocks that potentially children will now have. So you can see online, especially, it seems to be a generational thing of certain older generations will believe so much more online and then use that to shape their political outlook, for example, or how they discuss things in society. Whereas younger generations, it's not just a media literacy or digital literacy that they have, it's about building those connections. So it's quite an interesting theory, I think. How old is the Erikson kind of theory? Is it kind of like a I was gonna say, I wonder, when he wrote it, he probably didn't have the first idea that it would be adapted and utilized so much. But this is where we say theories are theories. They aren't fact. They are there to mold and develop to fit a modern purpose and your particular opinion and style. And that's exactly what we should be doing with theories like Erik Erikson. It's now unpicking it, what fits, what no longer fits, and what can be applied.
So it was he was born in 1902. So actually not as old as some of the other ones.
But still relevant and still conversation starters, I think.
Absolutely. Passed away in 1994, which is probably starting to go into the age of digital age, as it were.
So it was 92.
Yeah, 92.
Wow.
Did well.
Good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think,
and again, with theories, they are conversation starters, not enders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's with Erik Erikson's theory, I think it's the element of the personal, the social as well. And like you say, there's this sort of sociology, and that's the social element is predominantly what he's looking at and what he's focusing on, which again, if you're using social media too much and removing those social elements, or just using general IT at a younger age and removing those social skills, social element, it highlights the importance of still having PSED within the EYFS as well.
Absolutely. You can't just rely on people just having those abilities,
just being able to, again, we're talking, like we were talking about Piaget and Vygotsky and biology and environment. Like children are born with the ability to be that sociable side, but they need to develop that skill and learn that skill through the environment and through what they're provided.
Absolutely. Social norms and cultures and whatever it might be. Completely.
And equally, I don't think there's been, again, talking on the social media, there's not been the studies to see how that long-term impacts children as well.
It's very interesting. There's been a few, obviously, studies recently about screen time and how much screen time, particularly under fives, are having. And it's a lot more than I think. Well, I don't know. People seem to be quite shocked at the statistics. But yeah, I don't know a single parent that doesn't plop their child in front of a phone screen during dinner time. That's quite a normal, in air quotes, thing now. So it's not that wild to see those statistics. But what I am hearing though from our colleagues, especially that have got slightly older children, is that they're all coming away from social media now. Like the schools have already banned tech, and I know that is something that is coming into effect across the UK over the next few months and years, is to ban tech in school, in mobile phones, I mean, rather than all tech. But yeah, it seems to be like a certain generation is now sort of fighting back against it as well, which is very interesting to see. So
yeah, absolutely. And is there the generation that have become too dependent on it?
our generation especially.
And then imparting, and then and then embedding that into their children.
Absolutely.
Again, thinking your environment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, his theory, Erickson's theory, was over a lifespan. You know, that was the lifespan of people that his study kind of carried out. So
interesting.
how would that change with technology put into that?
Yeah, and how much that must have changed in his own lifespan.
Absolutely.
From, you know, Victorian era, where he was born, right the way through to, well, it was 94, so I was 2, still pretty little. But yeah, no internet at that stage. No computers. Well, internet was probably very early stages.
I was going to say, I think it would have been early stages, but still not readily available on a mobile phone, like at the tip of your fingers as we have it now.
Cable TV and
yeah.
You know, it's but even still, for him, that tech has developed. You know, mobile phones and or telephones been wide use, and TVs in every household, and that kind of thing.
The norm.
Yeah, completely. So back to Jean Piaget. Now I know how to say it. So are Jean Piaget's stages of cognitive development still relevant today, or do modern children challenge his timeline? Very interesting question.
For me, the element is the timeline element, right? And for me, having worked in early years, timelines are loosey-goosey. There is no it doesn't happen when it's you know, at this point on this day 32 of their life they're going to do this. This is not the case. They are always so loose, they are always so open. So and I think also potentially the element of, as we know, autism, ADHD is being spoken an awful lot about currently. And there is more and more coming out about that. Equally, would Piaget's theory of that cognitive development adapt because of the more SEND children, but the more vocal elements that are coming through on SEND children, and again, just in my years, we are seeing more SEND children, and that's not because they're being born with anything different. I think it's just being readily seen, and the signs and symptoms are being more spoken about. So it's being picked up earlier, it's being acknowledged, supported, and all those things differently to what it was. So could this challenge his timeline? Potentially. Could, again, the use of social media challenge the timeline? General parenting styles can challenge the timeline, you know, and kind of that, whether that's maybe even an honesty, a keeping up with the joke. My child can do this. My child can. Is that something they've done once, or is this something they are solidly confident in doing? Because again, that's another thing that kind of these timelines are, is it's not a case of, oh, we've done it once, yay, we've hit that milestone. No, hold on, we need to be doing this regularly. It's a constant thing that they should be doing. It's not just a they've done it once and there we go, that's it, done, dusted. It's is it being readily seen in their play and their abilities? So again, yes, his cognitive development is still very relevant today. Are there factors that can be impacting on this? Absolutely. Whether that's SEND, whether that's different learning styles, whether that's different settings, I think there's always going to be, always going to be the underlying, yes, they're always going to be there underlying. How forever seen they are could change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, completely. Again, it sounds logical that there are certain elements, especially biological elements, that children can't learn to walk until a certain age because of their patella and their kneecap developing. You know, those sort of milestones, and that's obviously a physical milestone rather than cognitive. I suppose there are elements of cognitive development there as well, but you know, there are certain factors where the timeline will stay. But there will be things that will develop quicker or develop slower, just based on, as you say, parenting norms, social norms, how we learn things. There's obviously, with our generation, there seems to be a lot of like breaking generational norms. That's like quite a trendy type thing at the minute, especially with diet culture and things like that, and so obviously slightly older children. But I always think as well, the EYFS goes up to 7 for a reason, because there is such a crossover and such a timeline difference between children. People get so het up on, oh, my child's not walking yet, or talking, or, you know, doing this and doing that. It's like, okay, but they will get there, you know, in their own time. You are helping them and developing them and educating. They will get there. But equally, there are certain windows for certain things as well. You know, as we say, their neuroplastic windows are seem to be quite biologically set. But again, as we learn more about that, that might not necessarily still be the case in, you know, 15, 20 years.
And I think also, to kind of, Piaget's theories are, they are large windows. They're larger windows than we have in the EYFS, right? So larger than the groups that we have in the EYFS, in that it's sort of 0 to 2s, 2s to 7, which,
wow, okay. Yeah, that's
a lot's going to happen in that. But that's 7 to 11 and then 11 plus. So again, it's not the EYFS is quite specific, quite condensed, quite rigid, whereas Piaget's are coming through as a bit more loose. And within, you know, again, within 2 years, within 5 years, you know, within that, you know, so there is going to be
wiggle room.
Absolutely. Exactly.
He's thought about that long term.
Absolutely.
Which again, that's what a theory should do. It's not set in stone. It should,
no, completely.
A good theory should move and develop.
And I think that's the other thing, is, again, these aren't new theories. These have been around for time. And these are still being spoken about.
Have evolved.
And these are still, you know, the grandfathers.
And they are being spoken about because they have the ability to evolve and adapt with times as well.
Absolutely.
I wonder how many theories there have been over the years that are now like defunct and null and void. It's probably thousands.
And again, which ones of these will potentially be maybe in the next 100, 200 years? Would any of these go anywhere, be corrected or defunct or whatever, you know, however you want to say it, you know, sort of thing? Will they be overruled?
Who's going to be the next?
And better?
Could be one of our listeners. You never know. So back to my Vygotsky. So Lev Vygotsky. So how does Vygotsky's idea of the zone of proximal development show up in early years, parenting, and every day? So first of all, what on earth is the zone of proximal development? I can't even say it. Zone of proximal development.
I'm just...
Every day is a CPD day. I love it.
Every day is a CPD day for you, Ellen. So it's kind of thinking about, so it describes the gap between what the learner can do independently and what they can achieve with guidance from a more knowledgeable other. So teacher, parent, or older sibling, things like that. Okay.
Okay.
So cognitive abilities increase significantly when the child encounters information or tasks that fall within the ZPDP, so the zone of developmental proximity. Okay. So if it's outside of this, the learner will be unable to master it, whereas tasks below the zone are already within their independent capabilities.
Okay. Interesting. You can see that, can't you? And certain things will land, and especially with second children or children with older siblings, you see that development so much quicker. They learn to talk much quicker because it's environment stuff.
But arguably, sometimes on that one, often younger siblings don't talk because they've got someone talking for them.
That makes sense.
So equally, you've kind of got an either there. So yes, the child is probably learning this information from the older sibling, but equally on a personal social element, are they almost being shut down a little bit because the other child is talking for them? So again, it's kind of that encouraging the younger child to use their own words and things
In their
like
own
that as
right.
well. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
interesting. Wow.
So we've got kind of a lot of learners know this as your scaffolding support, right? So your scaffolding, that's a term that's often used within early years, is the scaffolding. And that's oftenly seen in early years as asking open questions of the children and developing their understanding whilst they're playing, right? So it sort of learns them to progress through these zones until they can perform the task on their own. And the level of assistance is high when the task is new, and then gradually they don't need the teacher anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the social interaction element of it as well. So that the learning is a social process where interaction and dialogue help students move from guided to independent mastery. Yeah. So thinking about, again, we talk a lot about our holistic child and all of those different elements coming in, which if we don't have this, we can't have that. And if we don't have this, we can't have that a little bit as well. So we need to be thinking about that more experienced person. So that experienced other, again, could be parents, practitioners, fellow children in the room. If we're sort of talking about a preschool setting that's 2 to 5, the older children could well be a teacher in this element as well. And so thinking about sort of the knowledge beginning as an external social experience through dialogue and shared problem solving, learners transform these external tools and language into their own internal cognitive structures. So them knowing that they can do that and kind of creating the norm for them, and knowing that because I've learned that with them, I can now go on and do this. I'm confident with that. They did it with me last time, but I've got this time. I know what to do. And then again, you're then into that next stage of, okay, let's scaffold them up again, kind of thing, and into the next thing. So that is how essentially that sort of development growth happens, as it were.
Absolutely fascinating. You see that in all areas of life. I would say that's not just early years as well. That's very much a lifelong thing.
And a lot of these theorists weren't just childcare theorists.
Early years.
Yeah. So this is another thing, like when you're doing your research on them, quite often you can get buckets and buckets and buckets of information about them and their theories, but actually bringing it back down to early years is what we want to know, kind of thing.
That's it. Narrow it down to our field, rather than having it's
absolutely
overwhelming otherwise.
And again, I think this kind of comes into the element, that parenting element as well, that we've spoken about before, and kind of that being supported by a child. And sometimes it's the everything, isn't it? It's being there for your child, giving them that personal social support, that being able to give them those teachings that you don't know you're teaching them, but you are teaching them, and seeing those sort of confidence, whether that's on a confidence level or whether that's on a literally a theory element. But it's that what you're doing is teaching them.
So it comes up every day. That zone of proximal development, that is such a relevant part of that theory, that again, once you start thinking about it, you see it more and more and more, and you see opportunities to utilize that more and more as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the like you say, you as a person, it's not even just as a child, as practitioner to child, but it's actually practitioner to practitioner as well. Just thinking about how those skills are kind of being seen. Absolutely.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so a new name for me. So B.F. Skinner. So would B.F. Skinner support modern reward systems used by parents in settings, or could they create unintended consequences? So we're talking things like sticker charts, or are we thinking?
So Skinner famously was the man who created a rat box. So the rat had to go in one end, had to find his way through the maze, got to the end of the maze, got a treat.
Okay.
So then, as we all know, rats are very intelligent creatures. Every time they manage to make their way through that maze, they got a treat, got a treat, got a treat. Yay, I did it, kind of thing. That's where our positive reinforcement comes from.
Yeah.
So where you're talking, like you say, sticker charts.
Although not
Funny
our
story
favourite.
I remember one setting I was working in, a little girl, she was potty, one of my key children was potty training, and we went to the bathroom, and we sat down, or she sat down on the toilet, and I sat opposite her, as we do, get comfortable for the time. And we sat there, and I said to her, I said, have you done a wee or have you done a poo? And she said, just a wee. And I said, okay, that's good. And then I said, do you need a poo? And she went, no. And I said, are you sure you don't need a poo? And she went, but you don't have any Smarties. So that is what Skin is talking about, basically.
Yeah. Wow. So her
so it's thinking about that.
Massively impacted.
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely. And do you know what, that was one of the first nurseries I ever worked in that happened. So we don't need to divulge how many years ago that was, but it's not 15 years ago. A while. But thinking about that, is parenting different now? Are there different parenting styles? Of course there are.
Different resources for a start.
Different resources, different everything. Generally just sticker charts, right? Like, stickers are like a new thing, aren't they, almost, kind of thing, in context of the ages of our theorists. But
yeah,
could they create unintended consequences? There is the question of, do children only do things because they're going to get a Smartie? Are children only going to do this if they get given a reward? Is there an element that you can wean them off of the reward chart, as it were? And again, I think that depends on what you're using as your reward, right? Because again, we're thinking stickers, it's not impacting their physical state. Smarties, if we're going to be bribing them with Smarties, and again, there is an element of bribery and corruption here.
Sometimes it's a tool that's needed.
And sometimes that's the case, exactly. But it's choosing the right tool for that child. So maybe not being sweeties, but actually having it as a sticker, or just boosting them. Sometimes children are just love a high five.
Absolutely. I'd say to adults as well. By the end of the week, you've achieved everything that you wanted. Okay, have that cheeky glass of wine on a Friday.
Absolutely, smash that. Really well done today. Just given praise for it.
Completely, absolutely. But I think we so our next episode of the magazine is, or edition, I should say, of the magazine is coming out 1st of June. And in that we look a little bit at sticker charts, naughty steps, those kind of things. Naughty steps have kind of been phased out on the sort of like opposite side of things, of it being obviously negative reinforcement and not really modern practice. But sticker charts also, for a similar, or sticker charts, Smarties, that kind of thing, on a similar vein, but obviously at the other end of the spectrum, in that positive parenting, we seem to go through kind of trends of things of, 100 years ago there wasn't anything like this, and still, children seem to grow up absolutely fine. So is this useful? Is this not? Again, this is where these theorists come in, so that we can challenge it and evaluate it and see what works best.
Absolutely. And I think ultimately what Skinner's saying is positive reinforcement is better than a smack on the bum, kind of thing, isn't it? That Smartie's going to do better things than a naughty step, right?
Absolutely, completely.
So, and I think that's kind of what ultimately, if you're being praised for what you're doing well, you're going to want to do it again, whether that's us as a practitioner or whether that's a child at the age of 2 learning to potty train. The child is going to want to do better if they're being praised for it. And that could be a high five. That could be a well done. That could be a Smartie. That could be a sticker. But thinking about what those different things are, just so we're clear, not promoting Smarties being given to children in nurseries. These came from a home environment that she was being given at home, not in a nursery. But I think it's that just being confident that positive reinforcement works, right? It works. Parenting styles, we've spoken a lot about gentle parenting.
Mm.
And this is maybe the argument for the Skinner theory, because there is still a consequence, right? It's a positive consequence, but it's a consequence
Absolutely.
of
And
this
there's still a
behaviour.
negative, if you don't do it, you don't get this.
Yeah.
There is still a positive and negative consequence there.
Whereas often with gentle parenting, maybe that is overlooked
Mm-hmm.
and kind of you sit on this plateau, and actually
Mm.
are the positives being positive enough and
Yes.
praised enough,
Mm-hmm.
or are the negatives being consequenced enough? And again, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking about smacking or anything like this in this situation,
Mm.
but the children need to understand consequences, which
Mm.
potentially in some parenting styles maybe isn't a focus, or can be completely sidetracked, that actually then the development isn't there to understand
Mhm.
those emotions equally.
Completely. And I mean this in the most respectful way, but when I think of my dogs,
Mm.
you are taught as a dog owner not to punish a dog
No.
for poor behavior because they don't know any difference. They don't know good and bad.
Mm.
And for children, of course, it's very different. Humans are very on a very different level to dogs, of course, and the development is very different. But again, with children, they don't know the difference between good and bad. So you want to focus on the good so that they learn what is the right behavior rather than necessarily what the wrong is as well. And yeah, on a similar kind of separate note, as I say, as respectfully as possible.
And
Linking
I
it
think
to
children crave that attention, whether
yeah.
that's a positive or a negative. So if all you're going to do is give them, it's exhausting for you, if nothing
Mhm.
else. Stop that, don't do that, why are you doing that, stop this, don't do that. Whereas if you
Mhm.
can shift that and go, oh my gosh, that was really good, I
Absolutely.
really like how you did that,
A
and they'll go,
balance.
hold on a minute, she's also
Completely.
talking me for the good stuff,
Yeah.
and
And
I'm going to go with
equally,
the positive stuff.
it can't all be the positive as well. They need
Mm.
to know if they're doing something wrong. Some things just need to be pointed out.
Dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be that balance.
Yeah,
I think sometimes
absolutely.
that's what potentially, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, reward systems sometimes don't do very well. It only focuses on one and not the other. Same
Yeah.
with um, negative consequences.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It
Mm-hmm.
only focuses on the bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Oh, so we've got a flurry of new theorists for me now. So John Bowlby. So how does John Bowlby's attachment theory influence the way that we think about parenting today?
So John Bowlby was not the first attachment theorist,
Okay.
probably the most well known,
Yeah.
potentially.
Mhm.
So pre John Bowlby, there was Harry Harlow, who studied monkeys.
Okay.
And this is where modern day theoretical methods,
Mm.
research methods,
Mhm.
cringe and maybe
Mhm.
question things. So Harry Harlow studied attachments on monkeys,
Mhm.
and the attachment element of that, which Bowlby kind of continued through. But nowadays, if you were to do a study on a monkey and
Mhm.
remove them from the mother and potentially be electrocuting them to see how important
God.
attachment actually is for them, so how much they actually want to cuddle, essentially
Oh,
was, yeah, it's different. We're not going to be doing that nowadays, right? So again, for
thankfully.
me, there's always that thought in my brain about attachment theories. And I'm not poo-pooing attachment theories at all, because you can readily see them with all children. You
Mhm.
can see attachment theories with
Mhm.
every single child, and you can pinpoint whether that's from Harlow, Bowlby, or Ainsworth.
Mhm.
So Ainsworth followed on from Bowlby and extended it even further, right?
Mhm.
So from any one of those, you can see attachment theories. But there's always that thing in the back of my head that goes, how appropriate were these research methods, which 100% back then was, inverted commas, the norm. This was
Yes.
how they did their
Mhm.
research.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's not acceptable to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, you know, that is animal cruelty, right? To
Mm-hmm.
pull a monkey away from. But remove myself from that element. John Bowlby's attachment theory and kind of how we think about parenting today, how we think about the role of the key person early, those things.
Is it still valid?
It's never going to be questioned, in my opinion. It's never. That's always going to be there. There is always going to be, and this is attachment as a theory could well be developed, could be furthered, and probably no doubt is as we speak, because of things like social media, because of different parenting styles, because of this. But the fundamentals of attachment and what attachment is and what that does for a child and their development, that's never going to change. The need for a key person in a setting, that's never going to change. Yeah. Sure, there could be, these theories could be extended, but the fact that the child needs an attachment to develop appropriately and well, full stop, done.
Yeah. So I suppose this is where theory goes into fact of a theory has proven something. How they've gone about proving that theory will change and adapt and be debated across the years and generations, but the actual outcome of the theory has turned into a fact to follow. So what influences that is going to undoubtedly change, as you say, with environment, parenting styles. So the way that we think about parenting today is still very much relevant and valid then.
Absolutely. And
just
I
in a
think
different
it's almost educators, practitioners know about attachment. I hope everybody knows about attachment and is aware of it. It's not something that parents are kind of taught. It's something, you know, at birth, you kind of, you know, the mother should, there's been the skin to skin contact as soon as the child's born so that they can build that attachment. And that's kind of the end of the topic about it. But actually finding out those attachments and why is your child getting upset when you drop them off at nursery? You know, finding out the fundamentals of those things, or why are they a bit twitchy when you leave them at bedtime? All those kind of things. That's attachment. You know, attachment underlies everything. That child's personal skills, his personal social abilities of that child is underpinned by attachment.
Completely.
And it's huge. And I think it's something that parents need to be informed about to understand what that means to them and their child and their household.
Absolutely. And the nature versus nurture argument there as well. Of some elements will be nature, but some will be nurture based on their environment, how the parent was raised and what they were used to growing up. It matters massively for the development of that child.
And I think there's it's and things are absolutely changing, but I think we need to be conscious of the understanding of the importance of attachment and the importance of the role of the key person as well in setting.
Very much so. Social media and all of this tech things, yes, it has an influence, of course, but PSED is always going to be there, and it's always something from, you know, day one of a child's life, right the way through to adulthood. And you know,
and your relationships going forward. And again, this isn't, we're not just talking about parents when it comes to attachment. It's the caregivers, whether that's grandparents. But then this is going to impact all of your relationships as you go later on in life. Your healthy relationships we talk about so much, your partner relationships, your sexual relationships, everything that comes into play with relationships fundamentally comes down to attachments.
So on to Albert Bandura. So if Albert Bandura was right that children learn through observation, what impact do influencers, YouTube creators and media have on child behaviour? Controversial topic, I like it.
This is our social media baby back again. Like we always do, it always comes back around to technology.
So I assume his theory was, you know, again on the topic of monkeys, monkey see, monkey do type thing.
Ultimately, yes. Yeah, kind of thinking about that. So sort of seeing those role models in your life and reenacting that. And again, this can be on a positive or a negative scale. So we
Absolutely,
can
of
be
course.
talking about how we're interacting with others, you know, pleases, thank
Yeah.
yous, politeties, kindness,
Hmm.
comfort, support, or equally we can be talking about, unfortunately, abuse, domestic abuse, um,
And
the
how
manosphere, all of those
Mhm.
kind of things can also come into
Absolutely.
play at this
Yeah.
situation. Extremism,
Mm.
um, anything like that can come into this element.
Mm. But also things
So
like language development and things like that.
yeah,
They're constantly watching, YouTube and American YouTube especially about learning the alphabet and
yeah.
even
I'm,
basic
I'm
like
sure
that.
I'm sure I've said on a previous episode, but I've had a child who spoke in an American accent.
Mm.
Mum was Spanish with a very thick Spanish accent,
Uh-huh.
but spoke English and
Yeah.
Spanish. And her father had a very thick English accent,
Hmm.
British accent, and their daughter had a very thick American accent. And I said, "How come she speaks an
Fascinating.
American accent?" And they just said, "YouTube."
Yeah.
And
And
there
you
was
know
no
what?
question. That was
A
it.
lot
She
of
just because of it.
especially for people that learn English as an adult, you quite often hear them speaking in an American accent because
Hmm.
that is how they're learning it,
That's how
on
they've learned.
Duolingo or whatever. And I remember as a child myself, I wasn't allowed to watch Sesame Street because of the Z element, and it would be
Yeah,
teaching me the wrong thing. And
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And again, I think we kind of think about if children, and again, this is children. Yes, we predominantly talk about early years, but like we say, we go up to 7, don't we?
Hmm.
Children learn by observing and imitating others was one of Bandura's, it's predominantly what Bandura stated, and kind of learning occurs through modeling, observation, and social experiences.
Hmm.
If that child's social experiences are all coming through social media or through YouTube, through creators, TikTok, whatever it is, that's what they're going to see. They're going to go, "Hey, that was really funny." Like it's
Hmm.
like for me, it's like I've always been taught never to laugh at other people's misfortune.
Hmm.
And that has always been the
Absolutely.
situation for me, whether
Hmm.
that's someone trips over in the street or something happens in their life, whatever that is.
Hmm.
And it's a real, like this the the social media of like the mocking of one another or like the pranks,
Hmm.
right? And I sit there and I go, if this is what we're teaching our children to constantly prank each other or do
Hmm.
silly things, it's essentially we're on verging on like a bullying element
Really, yeah,
almost.
normalization of bullying. It's not
Yeah, and
calm.
if they think those are
Oh,
social interactions, is these pranks,
yeah. And the reward of that is that they get likes and
laughs,
followers and
likes,
then money and
lols, yeah,
absolutely.
of course that's going to be an impact on it.
Mm. Hmm.
And but equally, I think the Bandura theory is we could sit there and yes, there's the impact of YouTube creators, media, but equally, like you said, there was TV when we were around,
Mm.
and we would watch TV, and
Oh,
we look back on things that we would see and go, "Oh,
absolutely.
were these TV programs showing us a real friendship? Were they showing us a real social interaction?" Obviously, we sit there
Yeah.
now as adults and go, "Everything's scripted.
And
What's that?"
understand it, of course.
Yeah. And again, you sit there and you
Absolutely.
get, but again, equally, it wasn't as readily available to us.
Yeah, and it wasn't as constant. I think it was. I certainly feel like my parents were able to limit certain aspects as well. I always remember being heavily influenced by, if I saw a film in the cinema or, I
Mm.
remember seeing Spy Kids and then, wanted to make all my gadgets and,
Yeah.
things like that as a child. And of course, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's, what it should do. It should inspire the
Mm.
imagination. But
Mm.
equally, my mum could say, right, okay, enough of that now. Like,
Yeah.
stop making your Sabrina the Teenage Witch potions and let's, have a chill on the TV for a little bit. But whereas now perhaps it's a little bit more constant and from different sources as well. It's not
Yeah.
just TV time, it is, iPad time and then TV and then, whatever it might be. So,
Absolutely. And again, I think the Bandura, sort of thinking about Bandura's theory is
mm,
we need to be focused on early years, right? And again, I think this may well be coming in 5, 6 plus, potentially, kind of thinking about that. How much YouTube creators, content, whatever it is, I think it's something to be conscious of.
Yeah, and I think it's something to be mindful that children do learn by observing and imitating others. Of course they do. That's how we all learn at any stage of life. You adapt your personality depending on who you're around and your environment. But to have that mindfulness so that it doesn't then limit that child on developing who they want to be an individual and that individualism. So I think that's so important as well.
Rather than, again, an algorithm telling them which direction to go in.
So who they should be today. And the clone kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our final one then is, oh my goodness, Gemma, you are fucking on this one. Yuri, I can get that bit.
Yeah,
Yuri.
Bronfenbrenner.
Bronfenbrenner. What a fun name. Yuri Bronfenbrenner. I like it. So Yuri Bronfenbrenner argued that children develop within multiple environmental systems. Which system seems most influential today? Is it families, schools, peers, culture, or tech?
Don't think you can answer that question.
Depends on the child, surely.
Absolutely. There are so many factors that play into this. There are so many different everything.
Completely.
Every child is going to be different as to which element of that is most influential. Whatever, different culture, children from different cultures, family is going to be more important. Different cultures, school is going to be more important. Different cultures, peers are going to be more important. So you can't, I don't think you can rightly or wrongly answer that question. So Bronfenbrenner's sort of child development is influenced by layers of environmental systems surrounding the child. These include all of those different bits, and changes in one system can affect development across all of other systems. Again, it brings us back to that holistic child, doesn't it? That whole child. We can't just go, family is the most important thing for all children. No.
And it's understanding what that looks like. We talk about safeguarding, contextual safeguarding. It's about understanding that individual and all of those environments around that child to understand how their development works.
And the argument that schooling is maybe the most important for some families, but it really isn't for other families. Family is the most important thing for some families, but not for, and you just can't. Equally, the fact that distorted families or disrupted families or elements of that are going to affect, again, the child's attachment, which is going to affect their peers, which is going to affect their schooling, which is, so we can't just pinpoint one thing. And I think that's what he is stating, is that element that they all merge together.
Yeah. And understanding that about the child, about your own environment as well. It's really
absolutely
important.
And different countries, different cultures are going to see each one of those differently and will rate those in your family as a different level.
Yeah, and at different times, completely. And that was absolutely fascinating. It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour through loads of
tour of a few names there.
Very interesting. And as you said before the podcast, we were discussing this, we didn't want to just state a name, this is their theory, and this is what it's about. Let's have a conversation about them, because we can research these independently and see what the theory is, when it's from, and all of that. But actually, the application of theory is what's important. And understanding what it means in practice and debating within yourself or between your colleagues. Does this work for us? Which parts of these theories are relevant and which aren't? And is it still relevant today? What's useful?
I think the theorists are very important because they tell us, why do we do that? Why do I have to be a key person? Why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do these feedback forms at the end of the day? Why do I? Because of this, right? Because of this and these theorists and this child development, that is why. They are the why.
I think it inspires us to keep asking why as well. So we've got the answer for that, but why is that child doing that right now? Or what is the influence of them having their, a mobile phone at the age of 4, or whatever it might be? It keeps us asking those questions, which that's how we learn, and that's how we can influence the early years education that is just so important for children.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to encourage everybody to kind of have these professional debates as well with one another, thinking about technology, thinking about attachment, thinking about the environment. Have those conversations with each other. You don't, this isn't a conversation to say I'm right, you're wrong. This is a conversation, a debate to kind of have that conversation with them. Hear those discussions, hear those views, those opinions on the matter, and kind of go, okay, well, yes, however, I think this, and making it a professional discussion.
Absolutely. Have independent thought and that professional curiosity. Early is a profession, it's a vocation. And there is so much that can be done with it and so much that can be discussed.
Absolutely.
Never ending. I love it. Changing landscape.
And find out new theorists if there's anyone to take over these grandfathers that we're talking of.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Come at us with new ones.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topics and answer any questions that you may have. Your input really does help shape our conversations.
So don't forget to like, share and follow this podcast to stay updated. And as always, let's keep the conversation going about early years. Until not my next time, until someone else's next time, take care and keep making a difference.